Hello, welcome to today's lesson. Um, Today we want to look at word formation processes, and it is interesting to realize that having treated various grammatical units of English and looking at the word as a grammatical unit, we go a little further to find out how words are formed in English. And based on our knowledge of the morpheme and knowing that it is the smallest grammatical unit in any language, we want to look at how the various forms of morpheme, the affixes, the derivation, the inflectional morphemes are able to help us. Now, our goal for this lesson is that by the end of this presentation, each and every one of us should be able to understand the concept of word formation processes, or what they are in English, and then we should be able to demonstrate a deeper understanding of the various forms of word formation processes. And then based on that knowledge, we should be able to differentiate between the different types of word formation processes like clipping, back formation, conversion, compounding, name them. We should be able to find out what is unique about each one of them. Then lastly, you should use that knowledge to be able to improve upon your vocabulary acquisition and knowledge of word formation processes. Now, what is the concept of word formation? When we talk about word formation, basically, in linguistics, word formation is the creation of new words in language. And one of the properties of language, based on what we learned last semester, is the fact that language is productive. So, our ability to produce new words in every language is the process of what? Word formation. And then word formation processes basically refers to, like I said earlier, how new words are created, and these new words which are created eventually become accepted and become part and parcel of the language. Knowledge of this concept of word formation can easily help you as a learner of English, as a teacher to be, to understand that the English language, not to mention the fact that knowing words origin, the origin of words, can help you build upon your vocabulary. So when you find out how did we get this word, it was a verb that has been converted to a noun, or a noun that we've added something to become an adjective, and so on and so forth. So it's important that you really understand the concept. Now, what are the major word formation processes? When we talk about the major word formation processes, the focus is on the processes that we frequently make reference to in our daily use of English language. Now, let's look at the concept of affixation. When we talk about affixation, it is a general process, an umbrella term that we use to describe the situation where we add a morpheme, or what we call an affix. And when we talk about affix, it means that it is the addition of a morpheme either at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, or at the end of a word, in order to create a different form of that word, or a new word with a different complete meaning. So the meaning could be entirely different. Now, in English, there are two basically kinds of affixation. So English uses prefixes, that is before the word, and then suffixes. English does not have what we call the infix, which occurs in the middle. So when we talk about prefixes, pre means that before. So prefix means that it is something that we add to the it is something that we add to the base form of the word in order to get a new word out of it. And that is very, very important. Now, if we have a word like sing and we add er, we get a new word, which is what? Singer. So clearly you can see what we have added here is something at the end of the original word. So the er become what we call our suffix. Also, if you have a word like an, then we add real, we get a new word, which is what? Unreal. In this sense, we have added a un, which we call the prefix. So this is an idea of prefixes and suffixes. Now let's look at the concept of compounding. Compounding is a word formation process by which you put two or more words together. Now, it is a unit of combining two or more basic words which are independent morphemes. So before you do compounding, It means that you have two independent words that you bring together to form a new composite word. So examples, we have compound preposition. So we have alongside of, so you can see notwithstanding. So two prepositions coming together. We also have compound conjunction. So we have whereas. So you see where and as, and then we have when and ever. Two independent words coming together to form one word called compound. And then we also have compound adverbs. Indeed, moreover. So in and deed, more and over. These are two adverbs that have been brought together to form an entirely new word. And then we have compound pronouns like myself, yourself, you all. So all of you brought together. And we have compound numerals. Means that numbers 35, 44, 28, all these are compound numbers. 30 is a number on its own, and 5 is equally a number on its own. You can have also noun plus noun compounding. So we have handbook. Hand is a noun, book is a noun. You put them together to form a new word. Then we have skylab. You can have rainbow. So you can also have an adjective plus a noun coming together. Wow, you say something like a fat lady, a poor house, a red neck, blue, all of them, blue tie, dancing shoe, name them. All right. Now we can equally also have a verb plus a noun, pickpocket, killjoy, cutthroat, noun plus a verb, barkeep, toothpick, windbreak, okay, polytank, name them. And we have verb plus verb, make believe, okay, verb plus verb. And then we can have a verb plus an adverb, hold out, run off, take over, and then adverb plus a verb, downpour, heavy downpour, outlay, afterblast, aftermath. Right, then you have the last one, we have noun plus a verb plus er. So we have man eater, purse snatcher, woman, husband snatcher, and name them and so forth. So these are all examples of compounding. And basically you need to, for compounding to take place, you have two independent morphemes, two base morphemes, two stems coming together to form an entirely new word. Now let's look at what are the characteristics of compound words, words which are formed using these processes. Now compound words, one, behave grammatically and semantically as single words. In other words, even though two independent words come together to form the new word, this new word is entirely the meaning. You can easily get the meaning by picking the two independent words that come together to form the new word. Now, so since compound words behave as one single unit, between their component there are no affixes, so whether inflections or derivations. So for example, if I have bathrooms, school buses, water resistance, you can't say this one is the prefix or this one is the suffix. It's just one word, so that is it. But there are exceptions. So if you have words like passes by, of course you have the end, passes by, which will give you an idea, okay, that these two words are people who are passing by, or brothers-in-law. So there's a relation in court martial. So you go to court and then they summon you. Now another characteristic of compound words is that they can be written in three different ways. One, they can be written using the open format, where there is a space between the two independent morphemes, or the two independent words. So instead of saying toy store with a hyphen, I just write two independent: diving board, flower pot, something like blue bag. You write them independent. So this is what we refer to as the open. And you can also have the hyphenated, where you put a hyphen in between the two independent words or the two compound words. And then the third one is solid. In this case, you are not separating the two, you are not putting a hyphen, but you are writing them as one word without anything between them. So you have something like flower pot, washrooms, pickpocket. So we have three ways by which compound words can be written. Another characteristic of compound words is that now you cannot easily, like I said from the beginning, guess their meaning from the individual words that come together. For example, if you say boat house, it's a shed in which boats are stored. Okay, some of them is there. Okay, a bookstore is a store which sells books and so on. So sometimes you can easily find the meaning from them, and other times so it's not so easy as you see. So, but like I said, so there are some compound words whose independent morphemes, or the two different words that come together, when you take their meaning, you don't get the meaning based on your knowledge of the two independent. So, for example, if you say a red coat, it means a British soldier. It does not mean someone who is wearing a coat. Or if you say someone is a skinhead skin and head means somebody who is a racist, somebody who hates people from other ethnic orientation and so forth. And if you say it's a turncoat, it means a traitor, somebody who betrays others in the course of fighting for something. And lastly, we say that compound will usually have the primary stress on the first element of the compound. So if I have aircraft, the stress is on the air. If I have bookstore, the stress is on the first one, book, and then the store is less stress. Okay, let's look at another form of word formation process we call the reduplication. Reduplicate. Duplicate means to give a mirror image of something, a second part of the same thing. So reduplicate means that you do that over and over. So reduplication is a word formation process in which meaning is expressed by repeating all or part of a word. Now, the term reduplicant has been used to refer to the repeated portion of the word. So while the base is used to refer to the portion of the word that provides the source. So we have the reduplicant and the source. So the part that is repeated is what we call the reduplicant, and the part that stays is what we refer to as the base. Okay. So if you have blah blah, so which one is the reduplicant? The blah, the second one, and then the first one becomes the base. So we have things like that: cho-cho, chop-chop, gaga, goody-goody. So the second part is seen as the reduplicant, and then the first one. So if you have something like Humpty, okay, Pumpty. So if you have Pumpty, Humpty, and then we have Pumpty, Pumty. Which one is the reduplicant? Okay, so the base is the Pum, or the Pty, while the two consonants that we have replaced becomes the base. Okay, I hope you are following. And I also have what we call suppletion. Now, suppletion refers to the phenomenon or the situation where regular meaning or the grammatical relations are unpredicted. So let's take suppletion to be like irregular nouns or irregular verbs. It means that their pattern can never ever be predicted. So if you take the verb be, the various form am, is, are, was, were, so you cannot take and say that these are various forms of the same concept, but the form is that we cannot predict their occurrence. So if I say am, there I am, he is. So if I say was, that's the present past tense for singular, were. So all those ones. So you realize that you cannot quickly pin, but we have been able to break the be form into several forms of the same concept in order to create more words. And then in verbs to deal with the past and the present form. So if we have go, I can create another word from go, which is what? Went. And you can see clearly it's irregular. And for adjectives of comparison, you have good, better, best. It's the same adjective, but we are trying to show the degree. What are we doing? We are creating more words in this language using our knowledge of suppletion. And then finally, we also have the non-derived forms when we are counting. So first, 1, 2, second. Okay, so 1, we can have two different forms of saying 1. Instead of saying 1, I can say first. Instead of saying 2, I can say second. Instead of saying 6, I can say sixth. So this one, there is no the fixed pattern. So once I say 1 in first, 2 cannot be twice, 3 cannot be test. So you see that there is no clear pattern. That is what we refer to as suppletion. We also have what we call word coinage, where you coin a word. We also call it neologism. So when you hear neologism, it means that you coin a word. I mean, all of you, the student body, you have created new words. As soon as you say, we are going, this is a coinage of a phrase. As soon as I say we are going, everybody knows what it is. And of course, we know you've given some nicknames to your friends and to some tutors, and once you mention that terminology, everybody understands. Okay. Now, sometimes you can coin a word from an existing word, or you create an entirely new word, and then with time it becomes accepted. You remember irrigation, and then as PLO Lumumba would say, if you come to go to Tanzania, you can call it any name, but they call it Dumso. Dumso has come to stay. It's a coinage of Ghanaian origin, and so we can coin more words. We can say Dumso, we can say Dumsorized, or we can say Dumsorization. All these are words that we have coined, and it is building up the vocabulary. Kwashiorkor was never in the dictionary in the first place, but it has been used over and over, and now it has been accepted worldwide as a form of malnutrition of babies or kids. Okay. What are the features of coin words? You only coin words in informal settings. So with time, if it becomes formal, that is fine. So in a formal setting, you cannot coin words. 2, it is chiefly concerned with vocabulary. So you can only coin more words from vocabulary to create more words in the language, and then more at home in the spoken than in the written form. In other words, when we coin words, they are predominantly used when we speak in speech. You cannot write them. So you can't come and stand and say to irrigate or to do something. But when you are making a speech, you are at liberty to use that. And it's also used in interpersonal communication among friends, like I said, among your classroom. You have your own vocabulary. People doing a particular course develop their own vocabulary. So you use it among yourselves in order to just interact, to keep the relationships going. And then coinages are also situationally restricted. It means that you can't use them in every circumstance. So what is a coinage and accepted in one context, in another context, you cannot use it. And lastly, coin words have a very short lifespan. Sometimes you used to have some coinages back in your senior high schools. Now that you've come here, gradually it's dying off, and then you are picking up new set of coinages. We also look at another word formation process that we call clipping. Clip. This basically refers to the process in which a word or two or more syllables are shortened without an alteration of its function. So if it is functioning as a noun, you remove some part of the word and it still remains as a noun. You clip, you cut off some part. Now the clipping, the removal of some morphemes, can occur either at the beginning of the word, in the middle of the word, or at both ends of the word. So you take off something from the beginning, you take off something from the end to form an entirely new word, but the word class of that word doesn't change. Now, but in English, clipping is most common at the end in the word final position. Let's look at some examples of clipping. So normally we talk about math for mathematics. What have we clipped? We have clipped the whole E-M-A-T-I-C, and we've added the S to the TH to give us maths. We talk about mag. The school is producing a mag for magazine, isn't it? So we are clipping. What have we clipped? Clipping basically refers to the part that has been removed. And then if you look at exam, for examination. So if you say exam, it means that clipping has taken place instead of using the full word examination. We have lab for laboratory. We have flu for influenza, phone for telephone, and so on. We have zoo. Zoo actually means zoological garden. And we use zoo. Fridge for what? Refrigerator. So basically, we look at all the words and you realize that there is something that we have taken off, and the part that has been taken off. So if I say math, it's a noun. So mathematics is still a noun. So even though I've removed some morphemes, it has not, will not, cannot, and will never change the word class of this. So flu is still flu, whether in flu or influenza, exam or examination or exams, these are all forms of clipping. And then of course we have cope for cooperative. Now let's look at, we are gradually getting to the end. And so I want to look at another word formation process we call blending. Blend, you know. How many of you have seen a blender before? Good. Now in blending, what happens? You put your onion, your ginger, your tomatoes, your pepper, everything in the blender, press the button, and after that, what happens? Can you separate the individual components of the items that have been blended? Certainly no. That is what happens in blending. It mixes together. So blending basically refers to the word formation process where we string or bring some syllables from a whole word with other syllables from another word in order to form a completely new word for a new concept. And I hope it's very clear. Remember the concept of a blender, putting all things. So you bring your fresh tomato, bring the garlic, two independent things. You bring them together and you form an entirely new solution. Now, examples of blends that have been attained, that have been fully accepted in English include some of these. So we have smoke. So when they say smoke, it means smoke plus fork. And you know, sometimes, especially, it's like fork, but it's not fork. You can see some kind of smoke mixed with what? Fork. See the smoke, especially those who have stayed in the mountains. In the morning you see a lot of smoke. And we also have a motel, which means a motor plus hotel. So what have we done? You can see that we have blended. And once we blend, motor is a different word, hotel is a different word. But when we put a motel, we are forming an entirely new word. And we have urinalysis, from urine plus analysis. Okay. And then we have telecommunication, from telephone plus communication. Okay. And then we have brunch. Of course, when you say brunch, is different from breakfast, and brunch is different from lunch. So when you say brunch, it is when you take your meal between what? You combine breakfast and lunch. You're neither taking breakfast, and the time you're also taking it is not time for lunch. So we say it's brunch. And we have a transistor, from transfer and resistor. So clearly you can see to transfer something and to resist something is different from a transistor that converts electric current from one source to another for easy powering. We also have what we call back formation. Back formation. This occurs, you know, you have a word from the front. If you have two words, if I say back formation, which one is the back of the word and which one is the front of the word? Okay,
It's 10:30.
so the back is this. So formation. Okay, so back, this is the front, this is the back, right? So if I say back form, so what I've done is back formation. The back formation occurs when a supposed affix, that is a prefix or a suffix, is removed from a word to create a new one. So back formation is a shortened form of a word, as in, so if I have edit, if I have editor, and then I remove the OR and change it to edit, it means that what have I done? I have back formed. This is not clipping. I have back formed. Okay. So example, air condition. So we have clipped something and we have what? Back formed something. We have deleted something, and now we have what? Back formation. We have back form from back formation, and we have brainwash from brainwashing. Okay, so we have removed the ing. And then we have cross multiply from what? Cross multiplication. Handwrite from what? Handwriting. So when you see handwrite, I want you to handwrite it. Okay, that's an adjective. But if I say handwriting is a noun, okay, cross multiply, action, do something. But if I say cross multiplication, it is what? It is noun. Remember, with back clipping, there is no change in the function of the word. So kidnap from kidnapper. Kidnap is the verb, kidnapper is the noun. And last one is what we call acronyms. And what are acronyms? Is the process whereby new words are formed using only the initial letters of the words or word. So if I have NATO, NATO, it stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. If I have USA, United States of America. If I have GES, Ghana Education Service, WAIC, West Africa Exams Council, WASI, BEC, these are all forms of acronyms. And so you see that these have become words. So you say that the GES director, it's a word, Ghana Education Service, and all of that. And the last one is conversion, or what we call the functional shift, to convert. Now, functional shift is also called conversion or sometimes zero derivation. And this occurs when new words are created by using a word in new functions, by shifting or changing or converting its grammatical class to another class without any change in the form. So the word remains the same. Things about the change in meaning is the stress, the tone, how we raise our voice or lower it. So what are some examples? If we have words like contract, we can have contract or contract. So you see that one is the noun, one is the verb. So if I say the contract, that's a noun. But I say he contracted the disease he got. So I'm using stress. That's why we say zero derivation or a functional shift. The meaning has shifted, but we have not added a morpheme, neither have we subtracted a morpheme. So we have transfer and transfer. We have record and record. We have permit and permit. We have survey and we have survey. We have insult and we have insult. We have content and we have content. And we have project and we have project. We have import and we have what? Import. We have practice and we have practice. We have export and we have export. And we have advice and we have advice. So if you look at all these words, the spellings remains the same, but depending on where you put the stress, either on the initial or the second one, brings about a change in meaning. And all these are important. So what have we done today? We have looked at what we call word formation processes, and we said that there are several ways of forming words in English language, and we have looked at the various forms of word formation processes and even look at the characteristics of some. Now what do I want you to do? Try and find out what are the similarities and differences do you see, or what are the similarities and differences that you find among all the word formation processes. And if you have any questions, send your questions to the class discussion platform, and you know what to do, and we'll all share ideas on it. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day.